Have you ever wondered what you would do if the person who saved your life fell into grave danger, and only you could save them? Our story begins in a small, desolate town where the air is thick with the dust of war. There, a pilot known as Ghost, found a little girl. A fateful meeting changed both of their lives forever. 20 years later, that little girl has become a genius engineer. Life seemed peaceful until a rare disease threatened to take the life of the father who saved her. And the only hope lies in a mysterious mineral found only in Asmar, the very place she once fled. Join us as we follow the perilous journey of this young woman, returning to the place that nurtured her pain to save the man who brought her light. Imagine a place where the very air tastes of sorrow and the ground beneath your feet remembers every scream. This isn't just a story. It's a whisper from Asmar, a fictional town in a forgotten corner of North Africa, a place perpetually shrouded in the fine choking dust of war. For years, the brutal conflict had chewed through its vibrant heart, leaving behind nothing but skeletal buildings reaching like desperate fingers to a sky that rarely offered solace. The silence here wasn't peaceful. It was a heavy, suffocating blanket punctuated only by the distant rhythmic thrum of helicopter blades. A haunting lullaby for a land that had forgotten how to dream. This was Captain William Thorne's world. They called him William not just for his uncanny ability to navigate treacherous skies and slip into danger zones unseen, but for the way he carried himself. A quiet, almost spectral presence. He moved with a precision born from countless missions, his face a mask of steel, yet behind those eyes lay the indelible scars of a past he rarely spoke of. A personal tragedy. A failure to protect someone he loved long ago had carved out a hollow space within him. It was a wound that never truly healed, but paradoxically, it fueled his relentless pursuit of saving lives. Every rescue wasn't just a mission. It was a desperate silent prayer for redemption, a way to fight back against the overwhelming tide of loss that seemed to follow him. You see, when you've seen enough darkness, sometimes the only way to find your own light is to become a beacon for someone else. On this particular day, the dust in Asmar felt heavier, the silence more profound. William's helicopter, a lifeline in this desolation, hovered low over what was once a bustling marketplace, now just a graveyard of rubble and shattered hopes. He was scanning for any sign of life, any flicker of humanity amidst the desolation, when his gaze snagged on something out of place. It wasn't the usual tattered rags or the grim faces of despair. No. It was a single brightly colored scarf, vibrant as a desert sunset, clutched in the hand of a small figure, perched precariously on a pile of concrete debris. Most children in such circumstances would be wailing, clinging, or frozen in terror, but this child, no older than 8, sat utterly still. Her small frame was a testament to unimaginable hardship, yet her eyes, those ancient unblinking eyes, held a depth that defied her tender age. They were vast, dark pools reflecting the world's harshness. Yet within them, William saw it a spark of something untamed, a defiant flicker of hope that refused to be extinguished. It was raw, powerful, and utterly captivating. He'd seen children shattered by war, reduced to trembling shadows. But this girl was different. She was a tiny, unbreakable monument to resilience. In that moment, suspended between the chaos below and the vast, indifferent sky, something shifted within William. It wasn't a calculated decision, not a protocol, not even a thought. It was an instinctive, almost irrational leap of faith. He saw not just a victim, but an echo, perhaps of the innocence he'd lost, or the hope he'd buried deep within himself. This wasn't about adding another rescue to his logbook. This was about reaching for a piece of humanity he thought was gone not just for her, but for himself. He had come to save a life, but in the dust of Asmar, he was about to find his own salvation. He knew with a certainty that resonated deep in his bones that his life and hers were about to change forever. He didn't know how, he didn't know when, but as he lowered his chopper, a quiet, unlikely promise formed in his heart: he would bring her home. And that promise, born in the ashes of Asmar, was just the beginning of a journey that would bridge continents, cultures, and redefine the very meaning of family. The world blurred past Nia's window. a kaleidoscope of blue sky melting into vast green fields, so different from the choking dust of Asmar. As Captain William Thorne guided them from the arid desolation of North Africa to the lush, sprawling landscapes of rural America, Nia's tiny body remained still, but her mind was a whirlwind. This wasn't just a new home. It was a tsunami of the unfamiliar. The very air here felt different, thick with unseen scents, devoid of the metallic tang of conflict. And the sounds. Oh, the sounds. The incessant low hum of a refrigerator. A strange alien thrum that whispered of constant abundant coldness. The bewildering cacophony of a supermarket aisle overflowing with mountains of food in colorful packaging. A stark, almost offensive contrast to the stark scarcity she'd known. The casual, unrestrained laughter of children in the park, their carefree joy so loud, so raw, that it made Nia recoil inwardly. She'd never known such uncomplicated happiness, and it felt like a foreign language she couldn't yet speak. Her culture shock wasn't just about new scenery. It was a constant low-grade hum of confusion. She recoiled from a simple handshake, her ingrained survival instinct interpreting the outstretched hand as a potential threat. The concept of too much food was baffling. She'd hoard portions under her pillow, a ghost of hunger lingering long after her belly was full. Her quietness, once a shield in Asmar, became a new kind of barrier. William would try to engage her, his voice gentle. But her trauma manifested in silent stares, in sudden unexplained flinches at loud noises, and in the dreaded night terrors that would shake her from her sleep, leaving her breathless and disoriented, reliving unspoken horrors. Many would have given up, chalking it up to too much damage. But William was different. William, the man who could expertly navigate a helicopter through a storm of bullets, now found himself charting the uncharted territory of fatherhood beyond blood. He was used to clear objectives, defined risks, predictable outcomes. Nia was none of those things. He'd made mistakes in those early days, misinterpreting her quietness as defiance, trying to solve her trauma with logic, or even just offering too much comfort too soon, which often made her withdraw further. He realized quickly that his William persona, the man of steel, wouldn't work here. This required a different kind of strength, one rooted in vulnerability and an almost painful patience. His patience wasn't just a character trait. It was a conscious effort, a choice he made daily. Every quiet moment spent sitting beside her as she ate, every gentle word whispered during a night terror, every failed attempt to elicit a smile. It was a deliberate act of will. He didn't just want to save her, he wanted to connect with her. And slowly, imperceptibly, the walls around Nia began to thaw. There was one particularly poignant moment. William had been struggling with a broken old radio, muttering in frustration. Nia, who rarely spoke, simply walked over, picked up a tiny component he'd discarded, and with an uncanny, almost instinctive precision, placed it back into the circuitry. The radio crackled to life. William stared dumbfounded. It wasn't just the radio. It was a glimpse into a mind far beyond her years and a simple act of unspoken kindness that utterly melted his hardened exterior. In that instant, William realized Nia wasn't just a child he was saving. She was a teacher, slowly showing him the true meaning of resilience and how to reconnect with the buried parts of his own humanity. He was fixing a radio, but she was fixing him. Over the next 2 decades, their bond wasn't built through grand gestures, but through the language of connection. A tapestry woven from countless small, intimate moments. It began with simple shared rituals. William, the former pilot, rediscovered the quiet joy of the earth, teaching Nia to cast a fishing line into the glassy surface of a nearby lake, their shared silence more profound than any conversation. And Nia slowly, hesitantly, began to share fragments of her own world. One evening, rocked by another night terror, she began to hum, a low, haunting melody, an Asmarian lullaby she barely remembered, but which brought a strange comfort to them both. William learned to hum it too, a shared secret between them. Communication barriers didn't just fall. They were carefully dismantled piece by piece. When words failed, they communicated through art. Nia's raw, powerful charcoal drawings of fragmented memories and William's patient, unspoken understanding. They found mutual loves. for stargazing on clear nights, for the simple beauty of nature, for the quiet companionship of each other's presence. Nia, with her unyielding spirit and quiet strength, taught William to slow down, to listen not just with his ears, but with his heart. He had given her a new life, yes, but she had given him a profound purpose, a reason to rediscover the joy and tenderness he thought he'd lost forever. She had turned a hardened pilot into a father, and he in turn had given her the roots she never knew she needed. As Nia blossomed, William understood the truest lesson of all. Saving a life is an act of courage, but nurturing a soul is an act of infinite love. This profound connection, forged in dust and nurtured in peace, would soon face its ultimate test. For as Nia's brilliant mind ignited a cruel twist of fate was waiting in the wings, ready to challenge everything they had built. As Nia grew, the quiet, observant child from Asmar began to blossom into something truly extraordinary. School became her sanctuary, a place where her mind, once sharpened by the brutal realities of survival, found its true calling. She didn't just read. She devoured books, every page a new universe. But it wasn't just rote learning. There was a spark of genius in her, a deep intuitive understanding of how things worked, a relentless curiosity that often left her teachers both delighted and slightly baffled. And it was in the realm of engineering that her true passion ignited. It wasn't just about tinkering with an old tractor in the backyard, though she did that with uncanny precision. Nia possessed a natural gift for seeing the world as a complex system of interconnected parts. She could look at a broken antique clock with its intricate gears and springs and instinctively know how to bring it back to life. For a science fair project, she once designed a self-sustaining miniature ecosystem that baffled the judges not just for its complexity, but for its elegant simplicity. She saw the mechanics and logic in everything, effortlessly connecting dots that eluded many of her peers. It was as if her survival instincts, honed in a world of chaos, had found a new constructive outlet, turning her into a problem solver extraordinaire. William, the veteran pilot, watched with a quiet awe. He had always believed in Nia, but witnessing her relentless passion for engineering was beyond his wildest expectations. He didn't always understand the complex schematics she sketched late into the night, but he understood her drive. His support wasn't just in words, it was in action. He'd stay up late, poring over heavy engineering textbooks alongside her, trying to grasp the concepts she effortlessly absorbed. He'd drive for hours to obscure workshops, convincing seasoned engineers to spare a few minutes for a young girl with an insatiable curiosity. He even found mentors who saw her unique potential, nurturing her burgeoning skills like precious seeds. These quiet hours, spent working on projects together, their laughter echoing through the home, as Nia solved another complex puzzle, solidified their bond. It was a partnership of minds and hearts, adding another rich layer to their unique father-daughter relationship. But even as Nia's brilliant mind soared into the future, a quiet, almost magnetic pull began to draw her back to the past. Her curiosity about Asmar, her homeland, started to unfurl like an ancient map. It wasn't a sudden decision. It was a subtle, natural evolution of identity. Perhaps it was sparked by a news report about the region, a vibrant cultural festival she attended in a nearby city, or even a simple, innocent question from a school friend about where she really came from. Nia found herself drawn to the rich, captivating rhythms of North African culture, the stories of resilience she heard from scattered diaspora communities. She began asking William more questions about her homeland, probing the fading memories of her early childhood. She wanted to know about her biological family, the life she could have led, and the cultural roots that still pulsed within her. William, with the wisdom of a man who understood loss and longing, didn't shy away. He knew that to truly understand who she was becoming, Nia needed to understand where she came from. He actively sought out resources, showing her photos he'd taken during his missions, narrating stories about the unwavering spirit of her people. He even found and connected her with an Asmarian diaspora community in a neighboring city where Nia could learn more about her heritage, her language, and the traditions that had shaped her ancestors. It was in this exploration that a remarkable twist emerged, a revelation that tied her past to her blazing future. Nia discovered that her biological family, though impoverished by war, had a deep, almost mystical connection to intricate craft and design. They were known for generations as master metalworkers, creating complex, beautiful, and functional tools, or pioneering ancient advanced irrigation systems for their arid lands. It was a subtle, almost predestined connection between her innate engineering genius and the unwritten history of her people. It was as if the blueprint for her brilliance had always been there, woven into the very fabric of her lineage, waiting for the right soil to blossom. This dual journey, nurturing her scientific talents while embracing her cultural heritage, strengthened Nia's gratitude for William. It wasn't just about being rescued. It was about being given the freedom to be her whole self. She learned that true gratitude isn't just saying thank you, but embodying the values of the person who uplifted you. It was about honoring the gift of life and opportunity by living it to the fullest. William had not only saved her from the ruins, but had given her the chance to build a life beyond imagination, a life rooted in strength and soaring on the wings of her dreams. Their bond wasn't just a story of adoption. It was a testament to love, mutual respect, and the profound understanding that they were not just a father and daughter by choice, but by shared experiences and a destiny intertwined. But even as Nia stood on the precipice of a brilliant future, a shadow loomed over their serene life. The unbreakable bond they had forged would soon face its most devastating test. One that would force Nia to return to the very place she had fled, to face the ghosts of her past, and become the hero her father now desperately needed. Life, as we know, has a cruel way of reminding us of its fragility. For 20 years, William and Nia had built a life on unwavering love and the quiet rhythm of their rural American home. They'd conquered cultural chasms, personal demons, and the silent wounds of war. But then, without warning, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Captain William Thorne, the man of steel. The steady hand, the silent guardian, who had navigated countless treacherous situations, fell critically ill. It wasn't a sudden injury or a battle wound. It was a slow, insidious enemy from within. A rare, aggressive condition began to consume him, dimming the vibrant light in his eyes, stealing the strength from his once powerful frame. The man who had once carried the world on his shoulders was now confined to a sterile hospital bed, his breath shallow, his energy waning with each agonizing day. Nia watched in silent horror, her brilliant mind, so accustomed to solving complex equations, now utterly helpless in the face of this terrifying reality. This was a different kind of war, one where her engineering prowess meant nothing. The doctors, baffled and disheartened, could offer little hope. It's a feeling many of us know all too well. That crushing helplessness when a loved one is taken by an invisible enemy, when the best minds in the world seem to throw their hands up. It's the kind of despair that makes you question everything, makes you yearn for a fight you can actually win. Then, a glimmer, a whisper of possibility from an international medical consortium. An experimental procedure existed, a radical last resort. But there was a catch, a cruel, almost impossible twist of fate that seemed designed to mock their very journey. The procedure required a unique component, a rare mystical mineral known as the celestial tear. And where was it found? Only in the deepest, most treacherous parts of Asmar, the very land from which William had rescued Nia 2 decades ago. This wasn't just a physical location. It was a place steeped in danger, entangled in a mesh of brutal local politics, controlled by factions that held no regard for human life, and guarded by landscapes that devoured hope. It felt like the universe was playing a cruel joke, demanding the ultimate sacrifice from the very place they had escaped. The news hit Nia like a physical blow. The man who was her anchor, her unwavering support system, was teetering on the edge, and the only hope lay in the heart of her past. She looked at William, his face etched with pain, his normally vibrant eyes now dimmed to a faint flicker. She saw the quiet fear in them, not for himself, but for her, the potential burden he might place on her. And in that moment, there was no doubt, no hesitation. Her brilliant mind, though reeling instantly, calculated the risks, the impossibilities. But her heart, overflowing with a love far beyond obligation, had already made its decision. This wasn't about repaying a debt. It was about saving the man who had given her everything. It was about fulfilling an unspoken covenant, a promise forged not in blood, but in resilience and unconditional love. William, in his few lucid moments, protested, his voice a hoarse whisper, "Nia, no. It's too dangerous. I can't lose you too." His fear for her safety was palpable, a stark contrast to his usual stoicism, but Nia was resolute. She saw his pain, his quiet resignation, and it only hardened her resolve. She knew the dangers of Asmar better than anyone. She carried its dust in her memory, its lessons in her spirit. But now she also carried the knowledge of her own strength, her own brilliance, and the burning flame of a love that defied all odds. Here's the twist, the silent preparation that made her audacious decision possible. For years, unbeknownst to William, as Nia delved into her Asmarian heritage, she hadn't just learned about culture and history. She had been quietly tracking the political landscape, the tribal loyalties, the rumored locations of rare minerals, and the names of the warlords who controlled them. It was a secret, almost obsessive hobby, fueled by a subconscious need to understand the world she came from. She'd been preparing for this moment unknowingly her entire life. It was as if destiny had meticulously laid out the path for her to return, armed not just with courage, but with knowledge. She took William's hand, her small, strong fingers enveloping his frail ones. Her eyes, ancient and wise, met his. There were no tears, only an unwavering resolve. "I'm coming back, Papa," she whispered, her voice steady, a promise as unbreakable as the bond between them. She wasn't just his daughter. She was a force of nature, a phoenix rising from the ashes of her own past, ready to challenge fate itself. Her journey back to Asmar wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a reckoning, a testament to the profound power of chosen family and the ultimate act of reciprocal love. The very soil that had once threatened to claim her now held the key to saving the man who had set her free. And so, with a heart brimming with love and a mind sharp as any blade, Nia turned her back on the comfort of home, embarking on a perilous voyage back into the very heart of the storm. Her ascent was complete. Now, her greatest challenge awaited. 2 decades after fleeing its dust, Nia found herself back on Asmarian soil. It was a strange homecoming, a land of ghosts and grim realities where every shadow seemed to hold a memory. The smell of the earth, the way the sunlight hit the ancient ruins, the distant cries of nomadic shepherds. It all stirred something deep within her, a visceral connection to the past she had meticulously researched. But this wasn't a journey of nostalgia. This was a desperate race against time, a mission that demanded every ounce of her courage, her intellect, and the formidable engineering skills William had helped her hone. Her first obstacle was the labyrinthine bureaucracy, a monstrous maze of red tape and suspicious officials. Each step was a mental battle. Paperwork disappeared, permits were denied for vague reasons, and every conversation felt like navigating a minefield of unspoken demands. Officials hardened by years of corruption and conflict eyed her with thinly veiled suspicion. They saw an American woman, not an Asmarian daughter, returning home. But Nia, remembering William's unwavering patience, refused to break. Here's a subtle twist she didn't just push through. She used her deep knowledge of Asmarian dialects and customs, subtly appealing to ancient cultural values, offering gestures of respect that disarmed her interrogators. She didn't just ask for permits. She built a fragile temporary bridge of understanding, one careful step at a time. It took days, agonizing days, but her determination was a force even bureaucracy couldn't entirely stop. Finally, with grudging permissions in hand, Nia ventured into the lawless terrains, the treacherous remote regions where the celestial terror was rumored to reside. These were lands controlled not by governments, but by warlords, ruthless figures who ruled with an iron fist. Her path inevitably led her to General Kael, a notorious warlord whose grip on the mineral trade was absolute. He was a man of cold eyes and colder calculations, surrounded by armed guards, his presence radiating menace. He saw Nia not as a desperate daughter, but as a potential threat, or worse, a valuable commodity. The confrontation was chilling. Kael, a towering figure, scoffed at her pleas. "Why should I give you what is mine, girl, for a dying American?" Nia's heart pounded, but her voice remarkably remained steady. This wasn't a negotiation of power, but a battle of wits. Here's the climax, and the core of her genius. Nia didn't try to appeal to his humanity, for he had none. Instead, she appealed to his greed and his reputation. She revealed her engineering plans not as a request, but as an audacious, highly detailed proposal to extract the mineral more efficiently and with less environmental damage than his crude methods, promising him a cleaner, more sustainable, and ultimately more profitable supply chain without disrupting his other valuable assets. She highlighted critical flaws in his current wasteful operation, speaking a language of pure logic and profit that even a warlord couldn't ignore. She demonstrated through complex diagrams sketched quickly on a dusty map how her methods would preserve the very source of his power, ensuring a long-term future he hadn't considered. It was a strategy born not of brute force, but of superior intellect, a true testament to William's teaching and her own innate brilliance. Kael, though wary, saw the undeniable logic, the opportunity for greater wealth. He despised weakness, but he respected a mind that could outwit him. After a tense, agonizing standoff, he gave his grudging consent. With the warlord's reluctant approval and a suspenseful, meticulously executed plan, Nia, with the help of a few local guides she had won over, with her respectful approach, finally held it. A small container cradling the elusive celestial tear. The joy and overwhelming relief washed over her, but there was no time to celebrate. Her mission was only half accomplished. Time was of the essence. The journey back was a blur of frantic flights, missed connections, and an agonizing fear that she might be too late. She battled not just physical exhaustion, but the crushing weight of anticipation. When she finally reached the United States, she was a changed woman. Her eyes, once innocent, now held a new depth, a reflection of the complex journey she'd undertaken. She rushed to the hospital, the precious mineral clutched tightly in her hand. Doctors, their faces etched with weary hope, acted swiftly, integrating the rare component into William's experimental treatment. The following hours were an eternity of anxiety, anticipation, and whispered prayers. And then, against all odds, a miracle began to unfold. William's condition started to improve. The man who had once rescued a little girl from a war-ravaged land was now being saved by the same girl, now a brilliant, courageous woman. Nia had repaid her debt not out of obligation, but out of a deep, unyielding love that transcended every barrier. The ultimate reunion was not with grand words, but a single profound gesture. William finally, lucid, his eyes clear for the first time in weeks, saw Nia. His hand, once so strong, reached out frail but steady to touch her face. He didn't need to speak. The love, the gratitude, the sheer overwhelming pride in his gaze said it all. Nia, holding his hand, knew in that moment that she hadn't just saved his life. She had completed their extraordinary journey, bringing it full circle. In saving him, she had not only discovered her true roots and the strength within herself, but she had solidified the eternal truth of their bond. The little girl from Asmar and the brave pilot who saved her were indeed a family, tied together by an unbreakable bond of love-sacrifice and the enduring power of choosing to save each other again and again. Their story wasn't just a tale of survival. It was a testament to the profound truth that when we choose to love, we gain the power to heal not just ourselves, but the world around us, one courageous act at a time.